Welcome back to Kat's Kitchen. My name is Kat, and today we're gonna make my current favorite meal. I saw someone post a similar recipe to this online. I was like, that looks so delicious. It is a maple glazed salmon kale salad. It's essentially a roasted kale salad. We're basically gonna bake the kale to make it nice and roasty and crispy. And then we're gonna make salmon with an apple cider maple syrup glaze. It is just delightful, full of good for you nutrients. And you can always switch up the protein. So if you don't wanna do salmon, you can do chicken breast, chicken thighs, steak, lamb chops, pork chops, whatever protein you want, and it's still gonna be absolutely fabulous. And it's not hard to make at all. So let's get started with the recipe. First thing you wanna do is preheat your oven to 425, which mine just beeped. Let me know we're ready to go. And I just have some kale. You can use this kind of kale, dino kale. Are there more kale variations than that? I'm pretty sure there are. I just wash it to get all the bugs off, and then pat dry with a paper towel or regular towel, whatever. And then to a baking sheet, we want to just add the kale. And I just kind of pull the leaves off of the stem, or I believe people call this a spine. I just kind of pull off all of the little leafy parts. And you can just add as much or as little kale as you want. I just like to get those big, harder pieces out so I'm not chewing on it. If your kale is super duper fresh, which mine's not super fresh and new, it's a little bit older, so it's like a little bit harder to pull off the stem. But if it's super fresh, then it'll just peel right off when you do this. Mine's a little bit more old and rubbery, but no big deal. It's all good in the hood. So just take off all the leaves off your stems, and then I just break apart the larger pieces. Again, getting rid of any larger stem pieces, just kind of ripping them apart so they're bite-sized, not too large. Do more or less kale than this. One more little pat dry. We want these to be dry so that the oil sticks to them and they get nice and crispy in the oven. I guess I should have gone through the ingredients, I'm sorry. Salmon or your choice of protein. I do olive oil on the kale, and then I cook the salmon in avocado oil. To season the kale, I do garlic powder, chili powder, onion powder, salt. Bake that all together with the olive oil. And then for the salmon, I do cook it in avocado oil, season with salt and pepper. And then we're gonna add maple syrup and apple cider vinegar to the pan. Get it nice and syrupy and sticky and delicious. And then to the salad, I just add some Roma tomato. And then these are some sliced almonds for a little extra healthy fat and crunch. Delish and delightful. Kale on the tray. Gonna drizzle some extra virgin olive oil all over. Could also do avocado oil if you want. Season with a generous amount of your seasonings. This is salt, onion powder, chili, and garlic powder. Fabulous. And then using your hands, massage the oil and the seasonings all into the kale. Really massage it. It helps break down the fibers in the kale so it's less tough, less chewy, and then also so it's fully coated in the seasonings and the oil. And again, you can do more kale than this if you want to do, you know, this is a good amount for me, but feel free to do more. And then flatten the kale on your baking sheet so that everything is touching, all the leaves are touching the baking sheet. And then bake this at 425 for about 8 to 10 minutes. Definitely keep an eye on it so it doesn't completely burn. I'll usually even at like the halfway mark take a spatula and just kind of mix it together. That way it gets evenly baked. But oven at 425 for about 8 to 10-ish minutes. Since there's not a lot on the baking tray, I'm gonna put it in for 8, and I will show you what it looks like when we're done. All right, next step, I'm gonna chop the tomato, just because I'm also gonna cut the salmon. I just cut the ends off a tomato, cut the tomato in half, and then cut each half in half long ways. Rotate and then cut into just like that, and then set that aside. I went to Sprouts and got their wild caught salmon fillet. I asked for a pound and a half. What did he give me? Yeah, a pound and a half. This does have the skin on it. She's beautiful. Get this bone. Oh my goodness, look at the bones. You can use frozen salmon, whatevs. I like to try to get as high quality salmon as possible. And then what I like to do is I just like to cut this into like thirds or fourths. I think I can do thirds. And save whatever I'm not using today. I freeze it. or I'll save like a fillet for tomorrow. So I'm gonna cut this bad boy in thirds. Boom. This is a big old piece, so I'm gonna cut in fourths. Cut in half and then cut each half in half. I think that would be perfection. Oh, we didn't even get through the skinny boy. Tough guy. This is just like such an odd piece. Is that? I'm not loving that, but I'm gonna cut this in half anyways. This big boy is cut in half. This one cut in half as well. I have 4 fillets. I'm gonna cook 2 of them today and freeze 2 of them. So I just put these in like a plastic baggie, freeze them separately so I can thaw each one separately. And let's get to cooking these salmon fillets. I have a stainless steel pan, which I very much recommend. Let's heat this bad boy up a little bit and then we'll add some oil. All right, and just like that, the kale is done. Looks like this. It's like crispy on the edges, but it's still looking green, which we love. Also, how cute are these pumpkin pot holders? Ugh, adorable. Whoops. Crunchy. Okay, I'm gonna just keep the kale there for now. All right, the pan is nice and hot, so I'm gonna add in some avocado oil, decent amount of drizzle, and then season the salmon fillets. Can you see them here? Woo, that's hot. Oh, we're hot, 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 hot. We're ready to go. I'm gonna season the salmon real quick with some salt and pepper. This burner gets so hot so fast. I know, I'm sorry. You know what? You know what? We don't want you smoking. We don't want you smoking. That means you're hot, 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 hot. And let's add in the salmon, skin side up. Look at that sizzle. She's hot. Salmon going in. I'm just gonna clear this up a little bit. All right, and I'm just gonna let the salmon cook for like 4 minutes on this side, flip it over, and we'll keep cooking, and then we'll add in the maple syrup and the, why do I always forget? Maple syrup and apple cider vinegar. And while that's going, let's just start assembling our little platito. I'm just gonna take the kale. It's nice and crispy. And I did bake the kale for 8 minutes exactly. Add that to a plate. Spread it all around the plate. And then I like to add the tomato on top, just all around the kale. I don't usually mention this, but I have a 2 veggie rule when it comes to lunch and dinner. I try to always have at least a minimum of 2 vegetables per meal, just to give myself a variety, you know, of food that I'm consuming, a variety of nutrients as well. So if you're someone looking to get in more vegetables, maybe consider following the 2 veggie rule. Not that hard, just 2 different veggies. You know, you don't have to go crazy. And if you're doing 2 veggies, that means you're getting 4 different vegetables a day, or at least 4 servings. It's been about 4 minutes. Is it ready to flip? If it's ready to flip, it just peeled off. If it's ready to flip, it won't be stuck. It's stuck. We'll keep letting it cook then. All right, salmon's been cooking for about 4 minutes, so I'm going to flip them. She's a little stuck, which means they weren't fully ready. Oh, not too bad. Ah. Flippity-doo-dah. Beautiful crisp on one side, which is what we want to see. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar and maple syrup to the pan. And we want to, 1, add flavor, 2, deglaze the pan, and 3, create like a syrupy situation. I like when the syrup thickens. If you don't want a thick, sticky maple syrup vibe, you can use less maple syrup, or you can just cook the syrup for less time. I like to really let it cook and thicken in the pan, but if you don't want it to be too thick and too sticky like on your salad, don't cook it for too long. Adding this to the pan, we want to deglaze the pan a little bit, and then I like to just kind of tilt the pan and glaze the salmon with this maple apple cider vinegar glaze. And then let this cook for a couple minutes. I'd say maybe 3, and you'll see the syrup really start to thicken. It gets like all bubbly like this, and then it'll thicken like a beautiful, delicious syrup. All right, the salmon is at a good doneness level for me, so I am gonna remove it from the pan while letting the maple syrup continue to do its thing. And while the maple syrup is thickening, I mean, like, look how beautiful this looks. See how syrupy it's getting, how thick? I really, really like a thick maple syrup, but again, if you don't like it, Remove it from the pan now and drizzle it over your salad. While that's happening, I am just gonna remove the skin from my salmon fillet. Flip her over and remove the skin. I just use a spatula or, ow, you can use a fork. Oh, you're not fully cooked yet. LOL. LOL, LOL, LOL. Ah, it's too hot. Too hot. Too hot, too hot, too hot. Hey. All right, once the skin is removed, I add to the salad. Add it to the salad. Woo, look at that maple syrup. Yum, 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 yum. Fabulous. We're browning. Oh, smack, I let it go too long. I would let it go a little too long. See, yeah, it's like dark brown now. It's fine. And then I just drizzle this all over the salad and the salmon. Look how sticky it is already. She's real sticky, so you might need to use like a spatula. I love how sticky it gets. I think it's like a delicious syrup, but if you don't like it, don't cook it for too long. You usually get a little spatula so we can get all of that deliciousness. Like, look at that delicious maple syrup glaze. I'm sweating. I'm so excited to eat this. All right, and the final step, just adding in those sliced almonds on top. And you have this stunningly gorgeous maple glazed salmon kale salad. Focus on the salmon salad. Focus. There we go. Beautiful. Let's do a taste test. Kale already nice and crunchy. You can see like the syrupy candied maple syrup, which I personally love. Again, if you don't like it too thick and syrupy, don't cook it for as long. And the salmon. It's such a delightful balance of savory and sweet because you get the savory salt and pepper from the salmon, as well as the chili powder, onion powder from the kale, but then the sweetness from the apple cider and maple syrup combo. And the textures are fun too because you have some crunchy kale, crunchy almonds, and then some soft tomato and soft salmon. Once again, you can switch up the protein. Lamb chops, I made it with lamb chops. It's delicious. Lunch or dinner in under 30 minutes, full of protein, high fiber, lots and lots of nutrients, also great flavor. Promise you're gonna fall in love with this recipe. So easy to make, and you can customize it to however you want. Let me know if you do give this recipe a try and what you think about it, and I will see you in the next video. Got a blast. Yum. This one is so good. Every single time I make it, I'm like, oh my gosh, 10 out of 10.